Hey, welcome to Secured Connections. Really glad you're here. My name's Kerby. Come on in. I'll show you around a little bit. All right. Welcome to the playroom. This room is a lot of fun. As you can see, there's a bunch of fun stuff all around me in here. Uh, and and I haven't said it once. I've said it a million times. Playful engagement disarms fear. Kids communicate through play, and it doesn't matter what age you are. Having fun is always a great way to engage and get to know people and connect. Being a kid isn't easy. Being a teenager isn't easy. And I'll tell you what, providing care for them, whether you're a teacher, a parent, a foster parent, an adoptive parent, a mentor, whatever it is, if you're providing care for a kid, it's not easy either. No one ever said it would be. But there also is no real great instruction manual. Sometimes I think that's where I come in. Not that I did it so right raising my own kids. Not that I always knew what to do when I was a teacher. Matter of fact, I messed a lot of stuff up along the way. That's the whole point. Um, I've been doing this for a long time. My journey's been pretty long. I've been to a lot of workshops, trainings, read a lot of books. I've asked a lot of questions. I've sat and thought about things. Why do kids behave the way they do? How did we get to this situation? Is this willful disobedience or is this something else? And I've always believed it's something else. There's something more than just willful disobedience. So I've taken all my experiences and all the time I've been trying to figure this out. And I think that's where I come in your life. I can help you rewrite that instruction manual that was never really written. I can help you put together a playbook, a guidance plan of all the to-dos and all the not to-dos with your kid. We can do that together. To do that, I've turned to some really great theorists. I've read some good books. Dan Siegel, Tina Payne Bryson, Bruce Perry, Bessel van der Kolk, Stephen Porges, just to name a few. I could go on and on. But we'll get to some of that stuff a little bit later. Truly, everything that I do out here is rooted in attachment theory. So John Bowlby, Mary Ainsworth, all kinds of different things, Margaret Mahler, Mary Main. There's just a bunch of other theorists that had some great ideas about attachment. And I like to pull it all together with the brain science and how kids really got to be the way they are and what makes them tick. Attachment theory is rooted in everything we do out here. That's why this place is called Secured Connections. So I'll go more into those theories and so forth later in this video and in other videos. I'll tell more about my journey down the road, what got me to this point where I have secured connections and wellness and what else I do in my life. But for right now, let's just focus on our first visit to secured connections and what you can expect. All right, I'm glad you're here. On our first appointment, we'll sit down here at the table and we'll go through some paperwork. We'll talk about some of the business end of the deal. Like there's also things like client rights and duty to warn and mandatory reporter, and maybe there's billing things. Who knows? We're going to get all those questions answered and out of the way. But I also really need to know how it feels to be you. So in order to do that on our first appointment, what I like to do, or if we don't get it done on our first appointment, we'll do it on our second appointment. But I like to make a little family map. We call it a genogram. It has circles and squares and lines, and it connects all the people who are related to each other. I'll ask you who all lives in your house and draw it out. I'll ask about other relatives too, like grandparents or even cousins and aunts and uncles sometimes. Maybe there's even friends, neighbors, people who go to your church or you name it. If you might be talking about them during a session with me, I'm going to want to put it on the genogram. I also want to have any pets, all pets. We'll get them on there. I want to remember their names. And sometimes it's hard because there's a lot of people I got to try to remember things about. And so I write it down so that way I can keep it here in this folder and I can pull it out when we meet so that I can kind of be reminded, if you will. Also, I'll keep things like our goals and stuff so we can stay focused and keep moving forward. Therapy can be a lot of fun. It also is a lot of work. We have to keep all this stuff straight. Sometimes I like to meet weekly, sometimes less often. Usually our time together will be about an hour, maybe less. I've got lots of others to come see me, so we might need to leave some time so we can get things put away. Well, obviously, therapy isn't all play. We will go through the handbook, and there's lots of good things in here. Parenting things, as well as all about communication, why it matters, what to do in times of crisis, and also a little bit about each of the therapeutic models that we'll be using, that I work with here at Secured Connections: solution-focused, talk and reflective therapy, play therapy for kids and teens, internal family systems theory, IFS, it's often known as. I like to make maps of our parts and talk about our younger self, or maybe when my crash out part comes in, what happens and how it feels, and what does that part need? Seeing a therapist can be a really important thing to do. Sometimes it might seem a little scary to think about having to talk about stuff, but coming here should never feel like an interrogation, all right? It can be fun. Kids communicate through play, and playful engagement does disarm fear. So sometimes things aren't always easy, they're not always funny, but it's always okay to be a kid, all right? So it's important that you feel safe and learn who you can trust. At Secured Connections, we focus on connection. We focus on relationships, and we focus on ensuring everyone has a healthy sense of felt safety. I look forward to meeting you and seeing you soon. Thank you for stopping by. This is Kerby, and for now, we'll see you later.